Hello, FTM Transtastic. My name's Luke, and I'm so sorry. Whoa! I can't believe I said that without stuffing up. That's really weird. Ugh. I spoke too soon. So this week's topic is coming out to our stealth. I don't actually have a lot of experience with this because I've never really come out as stealth. I've only come out as stealth once. Most of the time I'm stealth, and I haven't felt the need to come out, really. I believe it's an advice week, although I don't really know what advice I really have to give because I've never really done it, as I've said. So I'm just gonna sort of talk about being stealth. I guess first thing I want to say is being stealth is a very strange situation for you to be in, solely because it doesn't really acknowledge the things that you may have potentially experienced in the past. If you go on the typical trans narrative where you were raised and socialized to some degree as female, like people thought you were a female and treated you as such. Growing up, and then you sort of realize you're trans, you come out, you start transitioning, yada yada yada. You have experiences that cis men typically don't experience. Acknowledging that those experiences did exist can sometimes raise questions. I went to an all-girls school, so this happens to me all the time because I did a lot of things that stereotypically cis boys never did. You know, I played netball and I was on the softball team, not baseball, like stuff like that, you know, and you sort of have to censor yourself because, you know, if I mention I was center at netball, then people will question. But at the same time, it's not as difficult as people might play it out to be. People seem to think that being stealth is this constantly thinking, oh my god, I've got to watch what I'm saying, I can't out myself, da 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 da. People don't really care, to be completely honest. If you're at a point where you are consistently presenting as male and you are, and I hate to use this term, passing as male 100% of the time, people don't have any questions towards your gender whatsoever, people aren't going to assume you're trans. And that is something that took a long time for me to wrap my head around because I see myself every day. I saw myself pre-T. I was pre-T for like 3 years knowing I was trans before I actually was able to come out and like start T. And so in that time, I've kind of like locked myself in that time, and I constantly see myself as being in that time. And I'm not in that time anymore. Yes, because you see yourself in that way, you constantly feel like if you show any signs of potentially being feminine or potentially having experienced those experiences that are very typically female, you will out yourself. And I'm just telling you that that isn't true. Because of that, when I was having conversations with people, that knowledge came out, and I was scared that that was outing me because people were questioning why I knew these things, why I cared so much about trans people, why I cared so much about the LGBT community, like why I knew so much about the history of being trans. Why, like, everyone was very confused as to why I cared so much. And that was what stressed me out because I was like, oh my god, because I've been talking about trans issues, people think I'm trans, or people think I'm trans, people know I'm trans. And that happened with one of my friends, and because of that, I basically came out to them thinking that they already knew that I was trans. And they were like, oh, well, I didn't actually think you were trans. I had no idea. When you first told me you were trans, I honestly thought you meant you were MTF. And I was like, no, not really. I guess it's just important to acknowledge that people's default isn't to think that you are trans, and like that is something that is very difficult for you to sort of realize. Is a lot of the time, like, and this often happens if you aren't particularly, like, if you aren't being read as male 100% of the time, you might think that you're passing as a trans person, but a lot of the time you're not. A lot of the time you're passing as one of the binary genders. It just might be the wrong one. I thought that I was constantly being read as a trans man rather than just a man in general. I guess the hardest part for me about being stealth is sort of trying to find the balance between being able to educate people, because I've heard people say really ignorant shit, and I've sort of been like, how am I meant to educate someone and bring up this conversation without accidentally outing myself? And the thing is, you can be seen as a cis ally if you want to remain stealth. You don't need to sacrifice your comfort in being stealth or your safety in being stealth in order to be an advocate for the trans community. And that is something that is still hard for me to get my head around, because I see cis people posting stuff about Caitlyn Jenner, and I see people like in my life, because I'm friends with lots of pretty inclusive and pretty awesome people, and seeing them post stuff about trans issues and talking about the issues that are real, very real. Thinking, oh, you know, it's really cool that they're doing that, you know, that they're an ally for the community, and then feeling like I can't do that because I will be seen as a trans person, when really I won't be. I'll just be seen like that. They'll probably think the same about me. If you want to sort of find the balance between being both, because like, of course, if you're going to be stealth and you're not going to talk about trans issues at all, if you're not in any of the communities, this probably won't be a problem for you. But for someone who kind of likes to educate people, it is possible. You can do it. People aren't going to just assume that you're trans. And that is something that it's very much a mental thing you need to get over, because you, for such a long time, as well, I know for me, you see yourself as a trans person. And you see yourself as nothing but a trans person because, especially pre-transition, you can't really allow yourself to see yourself as anything but that, because transition is so important to you. It's all you can think about. I talk about this in like the life goals video. Trying to break away from only focusing on that and really developing your personality and developing yourself is very important. But then it also makes it difficult when you are sort of in that place where you have done that to kind of, you sort of revert into going back into your old ways. You know, you revert into thinking yourself as a trans person and nothing but that. And that can be difficult to overcome. You can be an ally whilst being stealth. If you're gonna start talking about like your transition, you're gonna out yourself. But you can talk about issues in general with the trans community, you know? I don't know your situation, so don't just like be in a situation where you're stealth because you're safe and then do something that might potentially out you because you think that like I'm telling you to do something. I'm not telling you to do anything. Do whatever you want to do. Whether you're stealth or whether you're out, that is 100% your choice. You have no obligation at all to be a trans ally or to be a spokesperson for the trans community to answer questions. You have no obligation to do that. Just because you are trans does not mean that you have any responsibility to the community. You don't owe anyone anything. It's not your fault you're trans. If you don't want to be open about it, that's cool, you do you. But if you want to be the other way, that's fine. Just as long as people don't shame each other for doing that, you know? Live your life the way you want to live it. I don't know, I've kind of gone on a weird tangent, but I think somewhere I'll be able to edit this into making sense somehow, hopefully. I will talk to you guys next week. As always, my links will be in the description. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.